What's up everybody, Coach Mills here, coming at you with a brand new Overwatch video. And in this video, I'm going to be breaking down 5 overpowered tips for easy rank up, answering some of the big questions, and giving you some strategic tips that are easy to implement, but will guaranteed give you a higher win rate in your games, and you'll be able to climb as a result. So we're going to break it all down, but go to the GameLeap website right now for in-depth advanced VODs, tips and tricks. We got tons of high quality content, so if you want to rank up right away, go check it out in the links down below. But without further ado, let's jump into the video. Now moving on to the first tip, and this is something that a lot of players don't have any idea how to play, and a lot of players are going to ask, what do I do when I'm trying to contest a 2CP, especially when a lot of allies are dying and you're losing that team fight? Yes, you have that spawn advantage, you're constantly coming back, but when you're on defense and the enemy's about to cap, what do you play? What do you play for? What characters do you play? These are a lot of questions that probably have popped into your mind, and if you do the right things here, you can easily turn this fight with that numbers advantage and make it very, very difficult for enemies to ever cap that second point of 2CP. Now, the first thing they gotta think about is the characters. So there are two different things that you should really prioritize when trying to contest that 2CP. The first thing is instant value, which is the value that a character can get right when they get near the point or on the point. Can they kill someone instantly, like a Doomfist? He can fly out, get a kill on a support that's in the back line without any help at all, and maybe turn a fight if the enemy only has one support left. Now, y'all just have to stall and y'all can win. Now, the next thing is stalling ability. Think of a character like Tracer or a character like Wrecking Ball, really high in the stalling ability capacity. And that can be really good for the situations that I talked about, where if the enemy's supports are dead, you just need to outlast them and just keep putting bodies on that point. And on top of that, you have a lot of characters that can get high instant value. Think about something like a Widow, high potential instant value, can headshot multiple people, win that point, but she has 0 stalling ability. So sometimes it's important for you to look at your teammates and notice what combination of instant value plus stalling exists. For example, if you're really confident in getting some picks on Widow, especially when the enemy is not ready for you, if you do have a Wrecking Ball or some character that can stall on point, you might have a window of time to make that play happen. But if you're the sole DPS that is going to go try to contest point, you need to be playing a character that can actually touch the point. Doesn't matter if you peek out from spawn, get 2 headshots, if you can't even contest the point and you lose it anyways. Now, that being said, that can be a little bit confusing for supports in particular, and as a support player, unless you're specifically someone like Lucio that is playing to stall and be that stalling ability type character, you need to prioritize fight turning characters in any given heal situation. You typically don't want to be on the point unless you have to be, and you want to be enabling as much as possible the characters that can really convert on their abilities, or convert a little bit more on the value or the resources you're putting into them and turn that into actual kills. Let's go back to that Doomfist example that we talked about. A Doomfist might roll out, get that 1 kill. If you pump a little bit of heals in him, he can actually get out of that fight and then re-engage again with his abilities. All you have to do is prioritize him, and then all of a sudden he gets 2 kills, which means with spawn advantage y'all just can't lose. So that's just something really important that you need to think about, who to prioritize and why. And then the last thing, and probably the easiest way to retake that 2CP when enemies are winning the fight, is play for ultimates. Now, a lot of people just want to instantly swap off their character when they're really close to ultimates because they fear that no one is going to contest. But if you have active communication with your team and some of you go contest characters and some of you play for your ultimates, an ultimate is the easiest way to turn or get those kills, because remember, you'll need to get like 2 or 3 kills tops and then stall, and you 100% will win that team fight. So definitely keep that in mind. Notice what ultimates your team has, notice what ultimates you have, and then communicate and decide who's swapping to stall, who's playing for ultimates, who's doing this and that, and you're gonna have a much better time and win a lot more games just from this tip alone. Now, the next overpowered strategy that you can incorporate in ranked is the spawn camp, and a lot of players don't really understand when to spawn camp and why it's good and on what characters can you do it on. Well, the thing is, spawn camping is not actually just for one role. Yes, you could probably do it more on DPS, but you could definitely do it on tank with something like Hammond or something like Roadhog, and even on support, specifically Lucio is really good at spawn camping. If you just go to any of the top 500 Lucios, you'll see like every 4 fights they're spawn camping someone, because it actually is legitimately powerful. Now, what spawn camping allows you to do is it allows you to pick off an enemy who is not suspecting you and then go back into the team fight when your team is regrouping and finally engaging with a numbers advantage right off the bat. Now, the best best time to spawn camp actually is when you go into a fight with your team, but it's a lost fight, but a member of the enemy team got picked off. You've had those fights before. Maybe you pick off the enemy Zen, right? But you don't win the fight. You're still in the enemy backline, and instead of just hiding or going to reset, you're waiting, and you're gonna go try to kill that Zen and pick off that Zen. And you can imagine a ton of characters that could spawn camp a Zen that has no resources. A character like Genji, Tracer, even a McCree if they're not ready for it, Doom, and then if you think about tanks, Roadhog could do it, Diva could do it, I mean, Hammond could do it. You think of supports, specifically Lucio could do it pretty easily. And when you get that pick off, you can go back into your team because there's like a downtime when your teammates are regrouping. You get that pick off, you go in at the same time as your team. The enemies can't back up and come get you because your teammates are pushing in as well, and the pressure all combines. But here's the most important thing about a spawn camp for it to go successfully. It has to be by surprise. If enemies know that you're there, they're gonna come back and peel their partner, or they're gonna come back and kill you. So it's really important that until you are literally on top of the enemy that you're trying to spawn camp, you need to make sure that the information that you're alive and trying to make this spawn camp play is 100% hidden. Now, the next overpowered tips that you can use for an easy rank up in Euro games is counter picking aggressively if the team fails to counter. I can tell you how many times I've seen it where a McCree will like stun a Hammond like 12 times, and his teammates will just simply not focus that Hammond down with him no matter how much he calls for or what he does to that Hammond. It's just never gonna happen. Now, sometimes it's actually better to force an enemy to swap, even if you know they're gonna swap. You could swap to something like Sombra, hack that ball over and over again, and force that enemy to swap, and sure, they're gonna swap, but you could swap right back to your main or whatever the case may be, and they know that you're just gonna shut down that character from them. And the reason that you do this is it's shown time and time again that whatever the case may be, your team does not have the tools, the coordination, the focus to counter whatever is that problem. Instead of trying to do this as a team-based problem, because there's a lot of characters that should be countered as a team, right? Hammond, Doomfist, a lot of different characters. But if the team is not doing enough to make that a reality, then it's better to actually rely on the individual kit of characters and just play that hard counter to, at the very least, force them onto something different, because maybe your team has the tools or the capability to shut down a Hog that he swaps to, but they didn't have the focus or the capability to swap down the Wrecking Ball, and just getting him off that character is the best thing that you could do in that given situation, rather than just having an unkillable ball in your backline, just farming y'all over and over again. Now moving on to the next overpowered tip that you should really incorporate. This is a really, honestly, really easy one, but I would highly suggest you do it, and it's abuse an overpowered ability or ultimate combo with a buddy. And when I say abuse, I mean rinse, repeat, over and over and over again. Every single game, every other team fight, do it again and again. Something like pull hook, for instance, is a perfect example of a combo that might not be that viable in Grandmaster, right, with the de facto meta, but in every lower rank where the synergy is not there, when getting individual picks and value are a lot easier because enemies are out of position, that is just going to be a completely overpowered combo that is going to consistently get you multiple kills, get you pickoffs, get you free team fights if you just rinse and repeat it. When I first climbed to Grandmaster a long time ago, talking about ultimate combos, I really felt like I was boosted to Grandmaster because I played Genji back in the day, and I had an auto duo partner, and we just nanobladed every other fight, legitimately. We played for nanoblade, and we nanobladed like maybe 15 times in a game or some really high number over the course of a long game. We nanobladed over and over again, which means we won that many fights. I mean, honestly, it didn't really matter that many times we had teammates that didn't perform very well, and many times there were plays that I messed up, and there were things that we didn't perform well as an individual, but the one thing that we did right and did consistently is nanoblade, and that just won us a certain amount of automatic value that was enough to give us a very high win rate and just climb with ease, and we just blew through the ranks. And you could do this on tons of different combos, tons of different just ability combos, like I said, which you could do more of, and then ultimate combos, of course, but don't get lazy with it. Don't do it like twice and then give up. Make sure that you're doing it over and over again as many times as possible, because the idea is you're getting that automatic value or that bottom intrinsic value to a certain level to where you can easily fill in the gaps of a lot of the mistakes your teammates are making. Now moving on to the last big overpowered tip for easy rank ups, and this one's gonna be hard for some of you, but I promise if you try at this, you will win a lot of unwinnable games, and it's lead or command with comms. Good comms automatically carry games. And if you don't believe me on this, think about any game that you've had where no one talks and then y'all lose like the first point or you lose the first team fight. From there, you have it in your mind that you're gonna lose the game, and more often than not, you will lose that game. But imagine a completely different scenario where you have that one person that is talking, he's saying positive things, he's saying, hey, let's group up, hey, focus this person, hey, go in. This is taking up that leader role, and it's so freaking important, and it really can mean all the difference for not only mentality, but just focus in individual team fights. Now, what I'm not telling you to do is to tell people what to play or how to play. You need to be finding a way to work with what you have. You have X tools. Do what you do with those tools. Don't just start throwing out random suggestions for, oh, we should play this team comp, or oh, swap to this character, without knowing the strengths and weaknesses of your individual players, and realizing that in any rank besides the top tier rank up against really good players playing the meta, you can play anything and still be successful. This communication is going to go much further, even if you're not playing the optimized meta roles. That does not matter if you're firing on all cylinders together. Now, one thing that I think is incredibly underrated is, first off, just calling targets again and again in a team fight. If something is low, just saying doom, 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 or Hammond, 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 Hammond. As long as it's a killable target, don't call it if it's not killable. But if it is, keep calling it so that your allies can really, you know, process that information. That's exactly how they calm in scrims and in ranked play, especially like in dive compositions or in brawl. They call the specific target over and over again, and they echo it as a unit. Now, you're not going to get that, but you can still consistently call a target to constantly bring the attention of all the players onto that one target. And the second thing that you can do that I think a lot of players really appreciate is ask for help for a player on their behalf. If your Ana is getting consistently dove and maybe they're shy, maybe they don't want to talk, and maybe their team is complaining that the Ana's not healing, but you notice that she's getting dove again and again, say, hey, our Ana is getting dove by this Doomfist multiple fights. Can we help peel her? Something like that. That is the non-toxic way. The Ana will appreciate it. The team will be better off, and it won't divert into this really toxic yell fest that can happen a lot of the time, especially when you have an Ana that maybe doesn't want to defend themselves because they're shy or an introvert or whatever the case may be. If you can incorporate this into your games, it's gonna be a lot better. Games are gonna be a lot smoother, and you're gonna keep that mentality on, so many games that would have been lost are actually winnable. But go to the GameLeap website in the links down below for in-depth advanced VODs, tips and tricks, psychology courses, and much, much more. Do yourself a favor, go check it out. But I hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks so much for coming by. That's all I got for you today. I love your faces. See you next time.